those who don't know me, I'm a member of Rotary Club, A Club Masaki. Yes, and I am the master franchisee for this fitness brand called Body Street. It's a German fitness brand, and I'm the master franchisee for Eastern Africa. So I'm here at the studio, one of our studios in Morocco Junction in Dar es Salaam. Here with one of my trainers, Humphrey. Come say hi. So hello. This is Humphrey. Sure. Okay. We were talking with Menka, and she told me about presenting this, and I'm actually honored. So thank you, President Menka and Vikash. So I'll try to keep this really short and sweet. In my experience, almost 7-8 years now, usually with these things, sometimes people end up with more questions than answers at the end of the day. So we usually try to save some time for questions at the end of the day. I'm going to try to run through everything I think it's important for a typical person to know. And this is just summarization. It means you can definitely learn more, and probably that it doesn't make you a fitness expert, but it will give you the idea of what you should be looking for while even when you're designing your workout program or a meal program and so forth. So this is it. So I'm going to concentrate on trying to see how a person can stay fit with limited time. So that is for me. That's it for the introduction. So fitness made easy. To begin with, I think it is very important for everybody to know their bodies. Most people don't know the basic of it. And for us, the best, the first thing you have to understand is why do people get fat, for different reasons. These are the main reasons why people get fat. There are other reasons, but from the fitness perspective, these are the most important ones. Apart from this, then you need to see a doctor. But from the fitness perspective, from the general point of view, these are the biggest reason why people get fat. The first one is the energy balance. What do I mean by that? It means the amount of calories you're taking in. And as a rule of thumb, you usually gain weight when you eat more calories than what you're giving out, than what you're burning. We'll get into that. And the second thing is the hormonal imbalances. Also, I'll expand on that. So to begin with, the energy balance. As I said, usually people will gain weight when they eat more calories than what they burn. And the thing is, with the food you're eating, the body usually uses it for three main reasons. Three main three main uses. The first thing is BMR. This is the basal metabolic rate. Essentially, it's like a fancy name of just saying it's the energy required by your body to keep you alive. This is the energy which will be used when you're at a complete rest. It means when probably you're sleeping. This is the energy used when to just keep you alive. So most people get confused. If I'm not walking, if I'm not doing anything, where does the energy go? Even though you're sleeping, but your heart is still beating, your brain is still thinking, so much active, your lungs are still so much active. So those are the things which take most of the energy. But as well as your cells, they require the food for you to stay alive. So that's the basal metabolic rate. And the good thing is, with the basal metabolic rate, it takes most of the energy you consume. Basal metabolic rate usually accounts for almost 60% of the energy required by the body. So we'll get into that, how you can use that to your advantage, but that's the basal metabolic rate. Now, the physical activity does not necessarily mean the exercise you're doing. It just means any physical activity, any activity which requires, which takes advantage of the skeletal muscles. For example, if you're walking, Probably you're seated upright. There are back muscles which work. Speaking, all those are physical activities. So those require energy as well. And the last thing is the thermic effect of food. Again, this is a fancy word meaning this is the energy needed to digest the food you've eaten. So we'll get into this more, especially the thermic effect of food when we get to the nutritional part of my presentation. But for now, I think the important thing for you to know is the BMR takes 60% of the energy you eat, you consume, and the physical activity usually will be around probably 30 to 35% of the energy, especially if you're really active. But for most people, I would say probably 20, 25%. And let's say 7 to 10% of it should be in the thermic effect of food. So with that being said, we come to the next section of the hormone imbalances. So this is another reason why people get fat. That the hormones are we call hormones like think of it like these are the chemicals which activate our cells in different ways. So for us as fitness experts, especially if you're dealing with a person who is probably gaining weight, these are the two hormones we usually look at. There are other hormones which can affect your body weight, like thyroid. But again, from us as a fitness expert, we really can't deal with that. You have to see a doctor. But these are the two hormones which, again, make people fat. The first thing is cortisol. This is a stress hormone. Now, the point to know there is there are two types of stress. Usually, some of my clients confuse these two things. There is acute stress, which is the short-term stress, and there is chronic stress, which is the, sustained long-term stress. The difference is acute stress is like, let's say, these are stress which are not there every day. Let's say if you break up with your loved ones, or maybe you lost someone, died in your family and so forth. These are acute stress. They just happen from time to time, but they're not there every day. So these kind of stress, usually people lose weight from this type of stress. And the chronic stress is the stress which is sustained. Let's say you're a businessman, a businesswoman, and you're doing business, and probably in this time of Corona, the business is not going so well. So for about 3 months, you've been stressed. This is we call chronic stress. And usually people get fat during chronic stress because of cortisol. Cortisol is usually when you have chronic stress, it shoots up. Now, the thing about cortisol, it slows down your metabolism. It makes you want to eat more, and it makes you save energy, so you gain more fat. I'll give you a simple example. You hear most people say that, especially people who work in the offices, they'll tell you, I keep gaining weight. I'm not even eating that much. Usually in the office, people will skip meals when they are facing like really tight deadlines, and they will tell you, I keep gaining weight. I'm not eating that much. Maybe I'll have a simple breakfast, and at night maybe I'll eat a bit. But usually it's because of the chronic stress. With the tight deadlines at work, usually people are really stressed, and from there, as soon as your cortisol levels start going up, then you start gaining weight, because your metabolism will slow down. You feel more, your appetite is going to be really high. Again, taking the example from people from offices, you hear them really craving some food. You'll see that they'll be talking like, we need to go somewhere to eat, maybe pizza and so forth. Their appetite is really high. Usually it's because of cortisol. Now, insulin. Speaking of insulin, we call it like a gatekeeper hormone. What do I mean by that? Insulin is the hormone which allows your cells to utilize sugar. As soon as you eat, you eat sugary stuff or carbohydrates. To expand on that is that every carbohydrate food will be converted into simple sugars. So as soon as you eat sugars, insulin is going to be released for your cells to take in that sugar to utilize it. Now, the thing is, with the feeding habit, usually most people will be having really caloric dense food. I'll give you an example. With food like carbohydrate food, they usually raise your insulin really high. And you will see people having carbs, especially probably during morning times and afternoon times, maybe during breakfast, lunch, and sometimes during dinner as well. Most people have most people have carbs as well during their dinner. Now, the thing about that is, the problem with insulin is that it wasn't created to be spiking up maybe 4 to 6 times in a day. Every snack you eat, it spikes your insulin up. Now, with that, that's how people get type 2 diabetes, because at the end of the day, as long as you're spiking up your insulin so high for several times in a day, that's how you develop insensitivity to insulin. But we'll get into that when we reach the different type of food and how they affect your health. So with that being said, let me go straight into solution now, because I've already stated the problem, especially with the cortisol. Now, it's really easy to deal with cortisol. The only thing you can do is sleep more. Usually, when you're stressed, you don't sleep a lot, but actually, that's the solution. You need to sleep more. As a rule of thumb, again, for me, I really recommend probably 7 hours average of sleeping. And why not 8 hours? Usually, people ask me why not 8 hours. 8 hours was a bit of a conservative number when it comes to sleeping habits, but I'll say most people can get away with 7 hours of sleep in average. You can, if you want to sleep more, definitely listen to your body, sleep more. There are some people who have like sleeping habit where they sleep until their bodies wake them up. But for fitness perspective, any of my clients, I would say at least aim for 7 hours. That should be enough for most people. Again, if you still feel tired when you wake up, definitely need more hours. But most people can get away with 7 hours. And usually most people will start struggling as soon as they start reaching 6 hours of sleep. Like if they sleep midnight and they wake up at 6 in the morning, then they will start struggling. So I would say aim for 7 hours. And the reason is very simple. When you're sleeping, you're not stressing about anything. So your body is will try to, for lack of a better word, detoxify itself. It will cleanse itself. So I would say definitely try to sleep more, especially if you're really stressed, maybe at work. If you have that constant stress, try to sleep more. So let's jump into dieting. Now, with the dieting, it's usually I tell my clients that dieting usually don't work, and just for 2 reasons. First of all, it's the plateau. Most people go into really extreme diets as soon as they start working out. Maybe these type of diet like cabbage diet and so forth. And the problem is, as soon as your body starts feeling like you're supplying it with low calories than it was used to, then it will start making changes to counter that. So the first thing it's going to do is to try to lower your metabolism. That's the first thing it's going to do. As soon as you cut your calories, let's say you're eating normally in a day, maybe 3 meals a day, and then you go into a really extreme diet of maybe 1 meal per day, or maybe you go to those carbohydrate cabbage diet, or maybe those type of really extreme diets. You will lose weight for a while, but the problem is, first of all, you're going to lose muscle as well. Your goal is not to lose muscle. Your goal is to lose fat. As soon as you go into really extreme diets, you lose muscle and you lose fat as well. Now, the problem with that is, Have you ever seen a person who is, yes, they are losing weight, but they don't look very healthy? I mean, they don't look very, I mean, it's not really attractive looking at them. They look like they have been sick, but that means they have lost a lot of muscle during that maybe dieting period. So as soon as as soon as your body starts feeling like you're really low on calories, your body wants to leave. So it's going to reduce, to lower your metabolism. And as soon as it does that, you hit a plateau. A plateau, it means like you're going to lose some weight in the beginning. Let's say you lose like 6, 7 kilograms, maybe in the span of maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and then boom, you hit a plateau. You don't lose any weight. That means you have been really going. You have really reduced a lot of calories abruptly, and your body is reacting. And to break a plateau is really hard. I mean, at some point you need to stop and then start again. So I would say definitely critical. I would say extreme diets, usually that's the first problem you're going to encounter, plateau. And the second thing is relapse. These type of diets, usually they are really hard to maintain. And dieting, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And as soon as you relapse, you stop doing what you were doing. Let's say you were eating, again, I'm taking an example of the maybe cabbage diet. It has become very popular right now. So if you are doing maybe those cabbage soups, maybe 3, 4 times a day, and then after you reach your goal, you've lost maybe again 6, 7 kilograms. You say, okay, I'll stop. As soon as you stop and you go back to eating normally, then your body is going to try to save more energy now, because because your body doesn't know that this was just temporary. Your body is going to assume maybe there's hunger. So your body is always going to try to save more energy after a really extreme diet. So you're going to relapse, and the problem is you're going to gain more weight than what you lost. So let's say you started with maybe 90 kilograms, and then you lost 5 kilograms to 85. As soon as you relapse, definitely I will expect you to be around 7 kilograms more. So it's going to be around 92, 93. So you're back where you're in a worse position than what you started with. So that's why I usually don't recommend really extreme diets. But the thing I usually recommend is the change in lifestyle, the change in eating habits. And from time to time, you might take a diet, but don't take it for so long, maybe a week or two, just to shock your body, and then start changing your eating habits. Because again, it's a marathon. You need to choose something you can stick with for a long run. So I'll get into that again later in my recommendation of probably the best again nutritional advice. Let me jump into the type of macros when it comes to food. Of course, everybody knows there's carbs, fat, and protein. And just quickly, carbs are the source of energy, and fats are the store. It is the way our bodies store energy. And protein is the most interesting of these three, especially at least for me, because protein has so many uses more than any of these two. Protein has so many uses: building and repairing your body, producing enzymes. I mean, other uses of protein is like also it's used in the also in some bodily reactions, those reactions which happen in the body. So it has more than 100 uses in the body. But for carbs and fats, usually their uses it's based on energy supply. So carbs supply the energy, and fat is the way our body store that energy if it's in excess. With that being said, does most people are really afraid of fat. And I don't want to dwell on that, but fat is not your enemy. I would say, again, as a simple advice, I would say stay away from animal fat. Why you should stay away from animal fat? Because with animal fat, it's just it's just the extra energy you're supplying to your body. Fat has more calories per pound than carbs. So it's easy to get fat eating, to get like obese eating fat than eating carbs. The problem with carbs is it's easy to overeat. Let's say I was talking to one of my clients just I think 2 days ago, and one of our problems is KFC meals, and there's nothing inherently bad about KFC, but the problem is as soon as you start, for example, in that meal, I told her how do you eat, and she usually takes the crusher and the chips and the chicken, and I told her, do you know in that meal that crusher has, it's really easy to have that more, like you can drink all of it and it has a lot of calories. I told her, if you really, maybe in your workspace, you can't have really healthy food you can prepare at home, I'll definitely stay away from very sugary stuff because it's easy to overeat on them. But as well, the fat in those meals, it's really high. So first rule for carbs, it's easy to overeat. That's why people usually get fat while eating carbs. But when you take calories, fat has more calories than carbs. So let's say a person, and I'll get into that, a person doing keto diet, usually it works because because of the protein has a lot of satiety. If you eat half a chicken, that's an example. If you eat half a chicken, you'll feel more full throughout the day than eating a whole blade. Protein has more satiety. So with that being said, it's really easy to overeat on carbs. But the problem is, as soon as you start replacing carbs with fat, then there's a problem of you still gaining weight. And how to explain this is, first of all, again, as I said, fat has more calories than carbs. But to add more on that point is there's something called lipogenesis. Lipogenesis is the production of fat in your body. Now, it's easy for the body to convert fat into fat. Let's say you eat animal fat. It's easy for the body to really convert that, to take that fat and put it in your belly, than taking probably carbs and convert it into fat, or taking protein and convert it into fat. It's really on the range of difficulty. And when I say difficulty, I mean it costs more energy to do that. It's really easy for the body to take the animal fat into fat. Then it's right at the middle. It's the carbs. It's really not as hard, not as easy to convert carbs into fat, but it's really hard to convert protein into fat. So to summarize that, because I think I've confused some people. The first thing is, it's easy to overeat on carbs because they don't have a lot of satiety. But when it comes to calories, fat has more calories than carbs. So both of these two are things to look at. And as a rule of thumb, you should stay away from animal fat because it's really easy for the body to convert convert animal fat into your body fat. And that's why ketogenic diets usually have that problem. Most people who do ketogenic diet will see results, but the first thing, it's really hard to maintain that diet for a long term. But again, it's really easy to overeat on fat because you have removed all carbs. And to finish up, let me touch a bit on plant fat. I would say the oils which come from plants and fish, those are healthy. I think you shouldn't really worry about them when it comes to health ones. Probably you shouldn't overeat, because with that being said, again, in my experience, you will see clients having a bowl of salads and adding maybe 4 or 5 spoons of olive oil. It's healthy, but it's easy again to it's high in calories. So definitely go for plant-based oils and fish oils. Those are good, and because those can even be used for different uses in the body. For example, with omega-3 fatty acids, they usually help in repair of the cells. That's why omega fatty acids, if you're really taking your omega-3 fatty acids from different sources, maybe the pills or maybe I really recommend having fish. Then you see even your skin will start to change. Because omega-3 fatty acids, they help in repair of the cells. So that's it for the macros. Now, as a rule of thumb, I would say in your plate, half of your plate should be vegetables and fruits. And then I would say 25%, quarter of it should be protein, and quarter of it you can have carbs. Because most people are afraid of carbs, but really they are needed. They are part of the macros your body needs to supply energy. So don't be afraid of it. I'll go into different type of meals you can plan for yourself, but I wouldn't want you to be afraid of carbs. Most people are overestimating how bad the carbs are. No, the problem is, again, back to my first point, is calories in, calories out. So don't try to overeat it. Don't do it. So with that being said, I already touched on a balanced meal. That half of it, 50% should be vegetables and fruits, and 25% of that should be protein, and probably 20 to 25% of that can be simple carbs. If you can have complex carbs, and by saying complex carbs, I don't want to go into it, but I mean things like sweet potatoes or maybe brown rice. If you can have those, it's better. I would say put it probably around 20 to 25%, and you should be fine. So I've touched a bit on keto diet, and as I said, it's effective in a way, but again, in my experience, it's not really the best option to go for, because first of all, it's really hard to maintain, and it's really hard to it's really easy to overeat on fat, and as soon as you do that, you start gaining fat. So what would I recommend? 2 things I usually do recommend. If a person wants to make a total change in their lifestyle, really changing their eating habits, I would definitely recommend probably being a vegetarian and keto diet. It's easy to maintain being a vegetarian, and probably not vegan. You can go for vegan. It also has its benefits, but as a general rule, for me personally, I would definitely, I think being a vegetarian it's a more attainable option for most. So it's really hard to overconsume once you're a vegetarian. But as well, it's a type of feeding habit which you can easily maintain. But if a person don't want to make that jump of that change in the total lifestyle, so what else can they do? Again, as a simple rule, I'll definitely go for intermittent fasting. That's a simple way of cutting your carbs, of cutting your calories in general. Now, how I would there are different type of intermittent fasting. For a beginner, I would definitely start with 12-hour fasting. And for those who don't know, 12-hour fasting is just a window of feeding. It's a feeding window. It means, let's say when you have your last meal, maybe at 6, and then you have maybe 12 to 14 hours fasting. So how I would structure that is for a beginner, I would definitely put maybe start with 12-hour fasting, and the first meal should be lighter than the last meal. And I'll explain. I mean, the first meal should be lighter, like small in portion, but having a lot of fruits and simple sugars. And the last meal should be more of the proteinous food. I mean things like chicken, fish, maybe beans for vegetarians. So I would definitely go for intermittent fasting. It's a very easy way of cutting your calories. I don't want to complicate it, but of course some people need more more specified nutritional guidance. That's why trainers are there. But for a typical person, I would definitely go for intermittent fasting. It's straightforward. It doesn't have a lot of complication into it. With that being said, if a person keeps, as I said, for a beginner should start with 12-hour fasting, then you can start going for 14 hours, 16 hours. And then I would definitely end up at 18 hours. Anything more than that, then it starts to be a bit more extreme. But I would say from 12, 14, 16, and then 18 hours, you should be, we call that, you should be progressing that way, because again, it's a marathon, and try to stick to it. At first, you might lose weight, and then you start seeing like it's slowing down. Keep doing it, and you definitely see results. So quickly, I just thought of touching into this point, supplementation, because right now, I mean, people want to lose weight, obviously, but with that being said, there is a market which has arisen with a lot of supposed science. Selling products, which a lot of it's a huge market right now. I mean, these fat burning pills and so forth. So I definitely wanted to touch on this. Now, again, as a nutritionist, I'll be clear on this and say that nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything. So what I'm going to mention here, it doesn't mean I'm disqualifying everything in the world which a person or some company or some supplementation company might present, but the ones that work, the ones which any fitness expert would tell you that works when it comes to fat burning effect. The first one is the is caffeine, coffee, black coffee. It helps a lot. Any fat burning pills without caffeine in it, usually it's really I'm skeptical about it. Any person who knows anything about nutrition will tell you the first thing which helps you burn fat is caffeine. If you don't take caffeine, then green tea helps a lot. And you need to, I think I need to be clear on this. Even though these two things help, but don't expect to lose 10 kilograms by just drinking coffee. And don't overdrink. I would say for a typical person, maybe 2 to 3 cups a day should be enough. But don't expect to lose, I mean, even 2 kilograms by just drinking coffee. No, I would say, if I'm being conservative, if a person loses maybe 5 kilograms from exercising and eating clean, definitely I would say maybe 0.4, 0.5, like maybe half a kilogram, even more, 0.3 kilograms, I would say, then that maybe might be attributed with supplementation. But Otherwise, don't expect to lose much from that. So I would definitely say that the first thing you should stick with is eating clean and exercising. But those two are the ones which have been proven through years and years of research. Um, 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 Now, there is other claims that vinegar also, drinking vinegar can help with fat burning. Now, from the science point of view, there is not really a lot of research on that matter. I think there's one research which was done in Japan which supported that, but after that, then there is no really a lot of research on that. I think there's another one which was done on US, but again, it's a really skeptic. We are as a fitness industry, we are really skeptical on those claims. There is no really a lot of research supporting that. So I wouldn't really take vinegar for fat burning expectation. But if you're taking those natural vinegars like apple cider, those vinegar which we call it a mother, the apple itself, which made the vinegar, it's there. Then it can help with the how do you call this? Microbe in your digestion system. So I'll definitely, you can add it as something healthy, especially in the morning. But I wouldn't rely on it for fat burning, and as well as drinking hot water. You need to know that the fat which most people are against is the we call it subcutaneous fat, the fat which is under the skin. So drinking hot water usually passes through the gastrointestinal tract, and it really doesn't help much. It really doesn't help much. The science doesn't support it. I know some people will have questions, but the science doesn't support that, because first of all, you need to know the hot water won't even reach the body fat you're trying to aim. And another thing is the homeostasis. The body will always try to return itself to the optimum level. So you can drink hot water, but the body will always try to return to normal temperature, to its right temperature. So it really doesn't help much with the hot water. There are other benefits, but not for fat burning benefits. So again, jumping quickly into I think I'm going to use like 5 minutes into this. I've taken a lot of time on that. So physical exercises. There's something called afterburn effect. Afterburn effect essentially is the fact that the body is going to burn more fat after the exercise, not during the exercise. Most people don't know that. When you're exercising, your body is going to utilize glucose as a source of energy. Usually you want to burn fat there, but as soon as you start to recover from the exercise, maybe a few hours from the exercise until 48 hours, depending on how hard the exercise is, how intensive the exercise is, then you're going to burn fat for a longer term. With that being said, for a person who doesn't have time, I'll tell them, work out for a short period of time, but make it really hard. Make it really hard. Keep the intensity high so that you can have longer time burning fat. Some exercises, depending on how hard, how intensive you make it, you can even burn fat for 48 hours after the exercise. Like if you do like really intensive circuit training, then you have at least 48 hours. So it means as long as you're not overeating, then you can be burning fat even 48 hours after the exercise. And with that being said, this is a simple 40 minutes, 30 minutes workout at home, which you can actually do at home, or if you have a bathroom a shower at your office place, then you can definitely do it in your office. The first thing is always do the warm up. Always do the warm up. You can do jumping jacks, simple warm ups, just to get your blood flowing. Because if you don't do the warm up, if you don't do the stretching, there is a you might strain a muscle, And oh, I can tell you from experience that that's a painful way to learn how to warm up. So always start with the warm up. Again, jumping jacks, everybody knows jumping jacks. Always do the jumping jacks. And I'll try to show these exercises a bit later, but one thing you should never stop doing is working the legs. And for a simple reason, the legs are the biggest muscle of your body. The legs can, let's say a person wants to lose weight. The best muscle you can work is the biggest muscle, because the biggest muscle require more energy to work. So let's say if you work with the legs for maybe, let's say 40 minutes, it's different doing working the arms, maybe bicep and tricep for 40 minutes. The legs usually takes a lot of energy because of their huge mass. So always work the legs, and as a rule of thumb, again, always start with the legs before you go to other muscles in your body. So jumping squats and lunges are the go-to for leg workouts. And one thing I can show you is the for example, if you're doing your squats, always make sure that the knees don't go. I don't know if you can see my knees. Yes. So when you're doing squats, don't go like this. Most people go like this. Try to go back and then down. So I just wanted to touch that point, because most people usually end up hurt doing squats, and they hate squats, especially even lunges. Just make sure your knees don't go over your feet. And another thing is for upper body, especially for toning up, push-ups are the go-to for upper body. Don't skip them. So for a man, you can do normal push-ups. For a woman, you can do knee push-ups. They are a bit easier to do. And dips. Now for dips work tricep muscle. This muscle right here at the back of your hand. And I would definitely say as a woman, you should do dips, because you'll see most women have saggy skin at the back of their arms, and most women also sell fat in that area. So work on your triceps. Also do squat carry. It means you carry something and then you squat and then you lift it. Sit up. There are two variations. Humphrey, can you help me? Let's show two variations of push-ups. Let me show you two variations. I don't know if you can see me clearly, guys. Hello.
Hi, we can see the drop off.
All right, so you can see me, right? I want to show you the sit-up.
Yep.
Super. All right. So sit-up. Let's start sit-up. Yeah, normal sit-up. So the first variation is yeah. This is the first variation. So it's a normal sit-up, and the secret is, as you can see, he does not go to the floor. You should stop. You should end your movement somewhere in between to maintain the intensity. So the muscle will keep working through the movement. But if you go until down, try to go until down. So if you go that way and then you'll be resting, you know. So again, as a beginner, you can start with that, but at the end of the day, you should aim for that back like until somewhere there. Yep. So sorry. The other variation is this one. No, this is the other variation. This usually works the upper abs, and it's really intensive. I don't know why most people don't do this, but this is my go-to exercise for upper abs. Thank you. Thank you. So when it comes to sit-ups, those are the two variations I usually recommend. Pull-ups for men. Why I said I wrote for men because pull-ups work with your latissimus dorsi, the lats, and it makes a man look wider. So I'll definitely recommend more pull-ups for men. But if you're a woman, don't shy from it. If you can do pull-ups, then go for it. Other exercises, I usually recommend bicycle more than running. It's easier on the joints. You know, the problem about running, as soon as you're maybe 10 kilograms overweight, it exerts a lot of pressure on your knees, and there's a chance you might have problems later on your knees because you are running with being 10 kilograms overweight. So as soon as you are 10 kilograms overweight, definitely go for easier exercise on the joints, especially the knees. So bicycle. But if you are not that much obese, then you can start with the running or jumping rope. And when it comes to running, I would definitely recommend sprinting more than marathon. Right now, a lot of people go for marathon. The problem with marathon is marathon burns a lot of calories, yes, but you don't build a lot of muscle during marathon. And as we said, you need muscle. So if you take a look at the marathon runners, they really are skinny. And if you see a marathon runner, you might think a wind might blow them away. But if you see a sprinter, they are usually very muscular, people like Usain Bolt and so forth. So I would definitely recommend sprinting over marathon. But if you can combine them, it's even better. You can do a bit of marathon and a bit of sprinting. But if you're running, definitely try to incorporate sprinting, especially if you want to maintain your shape, to maintain your figure after you've lost weight. So that's it. And lastly, for women, most people don't know this, but resistance training, it means weight training. It usually, women usually respond better than men because to begin with, women have lower, they have lower mass when it comes to muscle. It's not like they have fewer muscles. They have the same muscles like men, but their muscles are not as big as men. So as soon as they start building those muscles, their body really responds in a fantastic way. They usually lose a lot of weight and they become more toned. If you've seen a woman who is fit, who is doing weightlifting, they usually look more toned, more fit than a person who doesn't, or than a woman who doesn't do weightlifting. And just to say so, most women are afraid of lifting weight. They think they're going to look like Arnold. Usually it's not really possible to gain that much muscle for a woman, but I would definitely recommend lifting weight for a woman because, and again, I have to be specific. If you're probably around 40 to 45, then definitely resistance training for a woman, definitely that's not the time to start. But if you're younger, I would say from maybe you're anywhere less than 40, then you should definitely consider resistance training for a woman. I said for a person who is probably 45 going up, because of the joints, lifting weight is really hard on the joints. So definitely if you're a bit older, then stay away from them. You can do normal cardio, but if you're younger, then definitely resistance training is the way to go. I would definitely recommend resistance training for a woman, especially if they have time. So I wanted to finish up to explain the concept of what we are doing here with Body Street. So as I said, Body Street is a fitness studio, which is a franchise brand from Germany. Essentially what we are doing here is the same exercises like what you do in the gym. The only difference is we use this machine, it's called EMS. The machine, you know, your body has its own natural electricity, which is used to activate your muscle. So the machine, what it does is just amplify that impulse to make your exercise more effective. So the result is your muscles are going to work to work harder during a short during that typical workout. So I know some of the people here who are listening to me. Some of them are my clients. They can testify that their muscles really work harder when you put EMS into it. But the exercises are still the same: squats, lunges, and so forth. So that is EMS. So because your muscles are working harder, that's why we don't work for a long period of time, because there's a problem of overtraining. So usually our training will be maybe 20 minutes session. So that's bodyfit. So bodyfit is usually a fitness for people with little time. So 20 minutes workouts and then you're out of here. Again, I would definitely want to touch a bit on bodyfit story. Bodyfit story was bodyfit was founded by two couple, Matthias and Emma Lena. They used to own a gym, a typical workout gym, and what they learn is most people pay for gyms, but they never never went to the gym. They pay, and I mean everybody has done that at some point in their time in their life. You pay for the gym, but you don't go. Why? Because you don't have time. Maybe work, maybe family, and so forth. So what they wanted to do is to start something which is time efficient. So they decided to start bodyfit. And the EMS technology itself, it came from sports science. It's usually used by professional athletes, footballers in the Olympics, because it's really the efficient way of supercharging your muscles. So that's it for EMS. So essentially what bodyfit does is the same fitness, like the same things you do in the gym, but the only difference is with us, we're going to use only 20 minutes workout. So yeah, that is it for me. If anyone has a question, then yeah, you can jump in.
Hi, Titus. Thank you so much for a great presentation. Okay, I think everybody will have a lot of questions. So I think for me, I've actually now lost 22 kilos. I was on a calorie deficit diet. And I think now my trainer has switched gears, and now I've been put on a muscle gain sort of a thing. Yeah, because yeah, and on the calorie deficit for the past 2-3 weeks, I think I was not losing any weight now. Yeah. So is that sort of the correct way now to go, along with still my diet as well?
So in the right now it's the third week you haven't lost weight?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So that's why.
That's okay. That's okay. And first of all, I can definitely tell you you're in the right track, because I remember I saw your regimen and it was this spot on. The thing is, your trainer put you on muscles are heavier than fat. That's the first thing you need to know. As soon as you start gaining muscle, most people would definitely stop losing weight. And some of them will actually gain a bit of weight because muscles are heavier than fat. So, and muscles are, it's really, for a healthy person, you have to have muscle mass. So don't worry about the scale. I think when you start gaining muscle and you know you're gaining muscle, especially if you look at yourself in the mirror and you see you're gaining muscle, that's the way to go. Because you've already lost 22 kilograms. I think right now gaining muscle is the way to go. So don't worry about the scale. And the more muscle you gain, the easier it's going to be to lose fat in the future, because muscle are the fat burners. You know, muscle burn fat. They need energy, so they burn fat. So the more muscle you have, the easier it is to lose fat in the future. That's why usually people who have muscle, as soon as they just reduce a bit of calories in their meals, then they lose a lot of weight. So definitely it's the way to go.
Right. Okay. So now I think I've just got what I'm remaining now. It's a bit of a belly fat. So I think that will now just gradually over the period go away, or yeah.
Yes, definitely. It's going to go away as soon as if you're gaining muscle, it's going to go away. It's really going to go away.
Okay. And now before I leave, just one last question is, now with all this COVID-19 and stuff, how safe is that EMS?
Okay. Again, the good thing is with BodySuite, we have a booking system. So when a client comes in, they usually you have only two people in the studio, the client and one trainer. So first of all, you want to be meeting a lot of people at BodySuite because there's a booking system. Every client comes at their own time, and as well as a franchise, we have really strict hygienic standards, which again, as a German franchise, any person who knows Germans, they are really strict with their standards. So we try to disinfect the studio at least 3 times a day, everything in the studio. I mean, starting from the studio itself until the bathroom and everything. And clients don't share gym wear because we have to give you gym wear. Every client have their own gym wear. Our trainers usually they are in a medical mask. So you're definitely safe with BodySuite more than I would say a typical gym.
Right. Thank you so much. We'll take more questions.
Sure.
There's a question from Mala. She's asking, is there any cons of the EMS machines?
Is there any
Cons? Is there anything negative about using EMS machines?
Okay. EMS, it's really, to begin with, it's not really a new technology. Most people are skeptic about it because they think it's actually new. EMS was invented around 1960s. So it has been around for a long time. So we have a lot of research done on EMS, and BodySuite performs 10 million trainings every year, and we have never had any incident where a person maybe is hurt or there is a negative effect from EMS. And the last thing is, for us to open up a studio like this, we have to register with the Health Institute all over the world. It means in UK, in USA, in Germany, in South Africa, in Italy, in Austria, in Tanzania. We had to go through TFDA and FDA in America to be allowed to use this machine. So we have all the blessings of these institutes which are responsible for health. So it's totally safe. We have never had any problem with any side effect. It has been used for more than since 1960, and it's allowed in the Olympics, and all the institutes in the world, health institutes are actually recommended as registered. They were actually surprised that they never knew that actually in Tanzania. Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Sorry, my network got interrupted. So actually in Tanzania, they were surprised that it took a bit of time. They thought that we already have EMS technology in Tanzania, but I said, no, I'm the first one to register it. So to be short and clear, it's safe. It has been proven with a lot of research and a lot of years of doing it. And again, BodySuite, we do 10 million trainings, EMS training through all over the world in a year, and BodySuite has been in business for more than 14 years now. So yeah, it's safe. It's definitely safe.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Mala. Ida, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Titus, thank you so much. My question, I've got two. One is for women, when you look at strength training, particularly as we get older, we'll start losing tone. What would you recommend in terms of strength training? So I'll give an example in terms of I play tennis, I cycle, but I'm losing tone, and I'm very conscious of that. What would you recommend? And I know I might have missed some of the things that you said earlier because I joined in much later. What would you recommend in terms of just getting tone? I'm quite I love exercise and I do enjoy the work I do, but I know I'm losing tone, and I'm not sure it's because I'm exercising too much. It might be something else.
All right. So to begin with, there are two sides of that regimen. It's the nutritional part and the exercising part. So I don't know how you eat. I'll definitely assume that you're eating right. And I would say if you're exercising as much as you're exercising, you should have enough protein to rebuild the muscle. But I'll definitely, maybe you can change up the exercises. As I say, you can try resistance training as well. And for a woman, I'll definitely go for really compound movement, not really isolating movement. Compound movement means things like squats, and deadlift and so forth. So go for compound movements, I would say, which usually work all of your body. And if you're working out, maybe let's say 4-5 times a week in the gym, I would put the first day and the last day for you to work legs. Why you should work legs twice for a woman? Because women recover quicker than men. So with that being said, they can take up more volume of workouts than men. So definitely work your legs on the first day and the last day of your training week, and try to go for really compound movement rather than having isolating.
Sorry, what does compound movement mean? Sorry, I missed it. What does compound movement mean? Because I cycle.
Yep.
I'm a cyclist,
Yep.
and I play tennis. But that
so
said, I haven't played
Yeah.
tennis for the last few months because of COVID. But
Yeah.
what I've noticed is that I've lost tone really quickly.
Yeah. So again, compound movement are the type of exercise which works most of your body. Again, things like deadlift, those are compound movements. Things like squatting with weight, those are compound movements. So if you focus on the exercise which works out most of your body, it's better for a woman, because isolating exercises usually focus on one certain muscle. I'll give you an example. For example, I'll definitely recommend, this is a good example for a person maybe who wants to do a bit maybe of the body toning. Maybe they want to work their glutes, maybe their butt, yeah? So if you want to go that, instead of just doing exercise which are just focus on the glutes, you can do wide squats. You see, putting compound movements above isolating movements. But again, I think go for compound movements. If you're working in maybe 5-4 days a week, I would definitely put 2 days among those, especially the first one and the last one, to be leg day, because you can recover quicker. With that being said, if you start doing resistance training, I would definitely recommend dropping one of those. I would definitely say maybe you can do resistance training with tennis, or you can exchange. Because if you're doing tennis, you're doing resistance training, and you're doing cycling, then for sure you are going to overwork. And again, eat your protein, because we need you to gain muscle.
So based on that, when you're talking about having a vegetarian diet, so the vegetarian diet needs to be the protein from your legumes, your beans, your everything else. You get protein from there, not necessarily from your meats.
Yes. Yes. You can definitely get enough protein from plant-based sources. As you said rightly, things like peas, red beans, and so forth, they're really high in protein. For many years, the fitness industry believed that you can't get enough protein from plant-based protein, but right now we know through research that you can definitely get enough protein from plant-based source. So again, if if you really want to make again a whole change in your maybe a lifestyle change in your nutrition, then definitely I would recommend vegetarian more than probably keto diet. And if you don't want to do
it's beans, it's Sam.
So
It's a lot of beans.
Yeah,
And in
but you know,
Kigamboni, it's a lot of fish. So that's where.
so if you can't go that way, and even me, don't get me wrong, I'm not a vegetarian. This is my recommendation, but for me, with my lifestyle, I couldn't be a vegetarian. I couldn't. So intermittent fasting is the easiest way you can lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. It's the most straightforward, simple way of dieting, and it's really effective. So I would say maybe you can start maybe with 14-hour fasting, see how it goes. Maybe you can do 16. So definitely those are the ones I recommend. But again, get your protein. Get your protein. Know your weight. Try to calculate. You can easily calculate how much protein you can eat in a day by just Googling how much weight you have and how much protein you need.
So similar, and this is my last thing, similar to Vikash, in the last few years, as I'm getting closer to 50, like 2 years shy, and yes, people don't laugh. Yes, I'm there. I've lost a lot of weight, and not because I've been silly about it. I've been quite clear in terms of getting my exercise on. I think the biggest thing for me has been that my tone, my muscle tone, I was always toned. Right? So I tell you, when I sit on the corner, I never had that, and I still don't have that. I've got the skinniest arms ever, but I was a big girl before, right? But what I've noticed is literally that I've lost muscle tone that I had. And that for me is important because I've seen my parents, their muscle tone is still on point. And I know that will help me. I don't have health issues. My mother doesn't have health issues. And I know you mentioned that about women, but I want to have something that I can do exercise and carry on because I love it. But also look good, not lose muscle tone. Muscle tone loss is not a plan. Yeah. It might not be something you have an answer for now, but I just wanted to put it out there so you can think about it as well. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
Okay. We've got a message from Guru. Would you like to ask your question? I don't know if she's on there.
Thank you, Menka. On the caffeine, I wanted to find out, because you do hear about these coffee wraps and stuff like that around the thighs where I usually have issues with. And so I was wondering if it really does and can work to burn the gluten on the thighs or the fat.
Okay, so with the caffeine, again, as I said, most people try to inflate their importance. I don't think by just having coffee, you're going to lose a lot of fat from that, only by doing that. But if you have, I would say, if you have maybe a lot of fat in your thighs, definitely go for leg exercises. Because the thing about fat is, the more muscle you have in a place in that area, the less fat you have. And that's why you see, let's say for men, usually they have a lot, if they usually work out their arms, and most men don't have fat in their arms. You'll see maybe they'll have fat in their bellies, but usually it's because they have a lot of muscles in their arms. They usually don't. For example, me, I mean, I don't have fat in my arms. So with that being said, definitely work out your legs. And the caffeine, probably maybe a cup or two per day, probably can help. Especially, even you can even take green tea. I mean, but again, please, it's not a magic pill. the two things which works the best is nutrition, 60%, I would say, or even 70%, and then 30% is the exercise. So if you have fat or cellulite in your thighs, go for leg exercise, and go for exercise which build muscle, sprinting or resistance training. I mean, squats, lunges, leg presses, and so forth. So go for those. The more muscle you have in the area, the less fat you have in that area. So for toned look, for thighs, work the legs.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So we'll just take our last question for the evening. And then if you have any other questions, I'm sure Titus will be happy to answer them. And you can just drop your email, maybe Titus, or your contact information in the chat. So our last question is from, I think it's Doreen, who's asked, how long does it take to tone up for a woman after losing some considerable amount of weight?
So it depends. It depends. It depends with I would say three things. First of all, it's where you started with, what you started with, how much weight have you lost, and how much muscle have you retained. The second thing is your work regimen, your workout regimen. How do you work out? And the third thing is the nutrition. So I'll definitely, I don't think there is a right answer for that, but to tone up is to gain muscle. And as trainers, usually we give a person at least 6 to 8 weeks to start seeing results, really considerable results when it comes to muscle gaining. Again, we usually give 6 to 8 weeks interval to really see tangible results. Like you can really see that a person is starting to tone up. 6 to 8 weeks. If you don't gain muscle from that time, and you have your nutrition is on point, and your workout is on point, and you don't gain muscle in 6 to 8 weeks, then definitely something is wrong, and the trainer should know. But I would say whatever you do, make sure your nutrition is on point, make sure your workout is on point, and give it at least 6 to 8 weeks to start seeing results. But it depends. I mean, different people will respond differently. Some people will gain muscle quicker, some people definitely take longer. But again, as an average, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, you should see results.
Awesome, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Doreen. So yeah, Titus will just put his contact details there, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to Titus. Thank you so much for doing this session on how we can keep fit, especially while some people are still staying indoors and we can all work out at home. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to the Rotarians we had from the other clubs. We had Rotarians from the Rotary Club of Mbezi Beach. We've had the Rotary Club of Sunset and Rotary Club Kampala Central. And we also had some members join us today from the newly formed Rotaract Club of the Rotaract E-Club of Dar es Salaam. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Titus, for speaking to us today. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Menka. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Goodbye to everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you so much.